2, 1.
What's better than us right now? What is it? Tuesday? It's a Wednesday afternoon right now. The boys are sitting at 2:00 talking to each other on these things that we like to call microphones. I don't know. There's probably people sitting down at a job right now wearing a tie that's a little bit too tight, and they're going, these little pricks, they get to sit in a room, talk about nothing, and that's their life. And I'm here typing in some number that no one's going to look at, all right? So as much as we complain, even though we don't complain ever, life is pretty good, boys. Dudes, Jeff, welcome to the High Button Podcast, a.k.a. the company you guys work in. How's life? What an intro.
Really? Just ask him. Hey? Just ask Belly how that was. It's nice to be back at the table.
Yeah.
Shooting the poop, you know?
Yeah.
Because no swear words. But that's a pretty good start for me. Didn't swear yet.
Well, you can swear. It's just we're not, at the end of the day, I think about advertising.
Of course.
We're not.
I think about the kids, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. I think I should have said kids, but you have to.
Yeah, no, not me. I don't think that way first,
No.
We're sitting at work, technically.
I heard back in the day when it was like, you would probably attest to this if you know the answer to it, but I think it was the first 10 episodes of the Trailer Park Boys, the people in the office from Showtime were like, too many F-bombs in 30 minutes. Is that how long the episodes were?
Yeah.
And since like 10 episodes in, there was always an FU count. Have you ever heard that?
I've seen clips of them, but I don't remember it fully, no. But I can tell you they definitely didn't get rid of them. Because how many F-bombs do you think there are in an episode of Trailer Park Boys? Ricky says probably, man, like 20 within the first 15 minutes of the show, always. Everything he says starts with that, or is in the middle of it, or if you can't think of something, he says it like, it's hilarious. There's so many. The whole show is based around that word, basically.
Yeah.
Trailer Park Boys was like porn back in the day, where you had to stay up late to watch it. The parents hated when you were watching it. You just couldn't get caught watching Trailer Park Boys. That's what it was in my family. Oh yeah, it wasn't like, it was oddly enough The Simpsons too.
Yeah.
But South Park, they didn't care. Yeah, go for it, South Park. But like Simpsons and Trailer Park Boys, those were the two big in the household.
I feel like, first of all, it's Showcase.
What did I say?
I don't remember, but it wasn't correct. That would be a much less awkward encounter with your parents getting caught watching Trailer Park Boys than it would be watching porn, you don't think?
It's just Justin. He's just...
You can turn it off. They're swearing every second
I was
word.
getting changed.
You're not going to tell no one I was getting changed. Oh, man. A great show, though. That's it. That's the end of the day. And there's a lot of people that are just getting into it. Like I have a guy at work, Randy. Wig always calls him Bobandy, and he just like kind of goes along with it, has no idea what the reference is. And he said he's just started watching Trailer Park Boys, and now he's starting to get all like, because Wig and I at work will, we'll shoot the shit and say random Trailer Park Boys quotes or whatever, and everyone else is just looking at us like, what? And I'm like, there are people out here that haven't seen Trailer Park Boys, and it blows my mind.
In Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more odd than like someone in
Kentucky
that's never seen
I was going to say, when I lived in Toronto, went to university, when I told people I was from Nova Scotia or Halifax, that was like the number one thing, like the people there knew. Like, oh, Trailer Park Boys, like it happened all the time. Like, you say, oh, yeah, I'm from Nova Scotia. That was my most frequent get back.
Really?
Oh, Trailer Park Boys, Ricky, like Leahy,
Ricky.
fucking Bo Bandy, like all that sort of thing. I'd always get it from the guys. So even like the guys in the suburbs in Toronto where 7 million people live, they watch it, man. I was going to say, I watched on Netflix, so I grew up totally different.
Oh,
you guys, like to you, it was like a show that was on every what was it, Friday night? Do you remember? Like, I don't know.
It was just on Saturday late.
Right.
On
it's every
show
Saturday.
Case.
Yeah. So then, but I experienced it just like a show. Like in grade 10, I went back, like watched every season in one weekend. It was like, this is the greatest thing ever.
So that's crazy that I remember I couldn't wait for Sunday mornings to watch Even Stevens.
Family Channel.
Family Channel.
Yeah.
I remember we were living in Rockingham. That house was freezing. I'd sit over the heater with my blanket and rub over you know what I mean? Just make a little hot pack, and I'd sit there and just watch Even Stevens. But you had to wait to watch it.
Of course.
And you grew up in the era where they can just click and collect.
Watch all of them.
You're clicking watching.
Yeah.
Watch all at once. You can sit there and watch the whole season. But we used to have to wait, because I remember we used to get together at Tommy's to watch the Christmas special every year. You'd have to sit there and make sure everyone was ready to go, like at that time, like you said, because it's one episode a week or whatever it is. But then eventually, the popularity grows for it, and they start to air it a few times, and then it gets on like primetime TV. Because I remember watching it, I think.
What show are we talking about?
Trailer Park Boys.
Okay.
But it's still scheduled viewing. Like, you know what I mean? Even if it was on a bigger channel, like
Yeah, of course.
I would kind of wish shows were still like that. I don't know how much I like this. Like, I'd rather be like every Wednesday night have this show to look forward to.
Yeah, they're kind of sure. There's still shows like that. Like I watch some shows with the woman that I'm not going to say them on air. Take heat.
Why not?
I'm just kidding. It's Dancing with the Stars every Monday night, baby. It was 90s night last week. The household was lit. 90s. Hey, every song they played would have been.
This.
I mean, you won't remember the 90s. You weren't even thought of yet.
When
were you born?
What year? 99, June 8th.
Oh yeah,
So like
our
almost
end of the 90s.
Almost the very end of the 90s.
That's so wild to think about that he was like, I seen it on Netflix, but you and I snuck it in to try and see it because we were younger when it came out. And it really didn't seem like a great show, you know what I mean? It was funny, but like I feel like a lot of TV shows are good at just like setting the scene so you know when to laugh, even if you don't necessarily get what they said.
Growing up in like the suburbs, watching it introduced me to basically introduced me to people that didn't have anything. Just how they got by in life. You know, you're so like, you live in a neighborhood where you can eat every day and you can wash your clothes, take a shower, and just seeing how they go by life. It just it introduced me to poor people. That's all I'll say. It just introduced me to how the other side lives.
Everyone learns differently, right?
You knew me way before that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was just gonna say the whole thing when you were a kid, you didn't understand the hash driveway when you were watching at age 7
I didn't understand anything.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I thought like that's just cement they're pouring there, right?
Actually, the thing that attracted our age group was like Bubbles, right? Because that was such like a out there character. This guy with big, magnified glasses, and he talks with his lip out, and he drives a go-kart, wears a hockey helmet, right? When that's like a little detail that goes a long way, but. It's just because that's who I liked at the beginning. But as you get a little bit older and you start to understand like the context of the show and stuff, it's like Ricky and like all these characters, it's just the perfect mix of these characters in a show. You know what I mean? You start to J-Rock, everybody.
I've always wondered about the budget with it.
Yeah.
Because if you watch the first, 50 episodes, we could record an episode. It's not.
True.
It's the iPhones are better now than the cameras they used on back then to film those shows.
1000%.
Anyways,
great show. Have you ever had any of them on the pod?
No, I've had the opportunity to have. I'm not going to say who, one of them on. I guess he didn't say yes, but a guy offered. He's like, I know him really well. I can put the conversation in motion. And I said I would only do it if he would do it not in character. And apparently that's not a thing. They have to kind of do it in character.
Really?
Yeah. If you watch their podcast, Quake did a couple with them, and they're in character. If you look at them at any talk, I don't think if you guys can name a talk show or a podcast that they've done out of character, tell me about it. But I don't know of any. Anytime they're on camera, they're in character, and I couldn't do that for an hour.
They would put you in a mental pretzel, man.
Oh, 100%.
You'd be done.
Yeah,
anyone would.
I feel like I could keep up with those guys
really.
Yeah, I feel like I could be part of the cast for sure.
Yeah, maybe it's your second nature.
I mean, I pretty much lived my life based on a bunch of the way they do things. Ricky confusing people when he's explaining things, like call it Ricky and people, right? Yeah, just a bunch of stuff, just getting by, Ricky-isms. Right? Just doing everything you can to get by. That's all they do. That's the end of the day. That's what Trailer Park Boys is.
Anyways, have you guys ever seen an interview? I'm trying to think. Have you guys ever seen?
No.
Okay,
no.
So what the guy said is probably correct. But anyways, that's where that was.
Interesting.
Moving on.
Great show. Gentlemen, big week coming up for High Button Sports. I'm happy you guys are here for the business meeting. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching, welcome to the business meeting. Dudes and I know what we're doing. Jeff, you know what you're doing as well. But I think it's the biggest weekend for Jeff. As much as Dudes and I are excited to go to Fredericton and work the Buster Harvey tournament up in Fredericton, do some highlights, get to know some people, maybe we got a couple friends up there, Carruthers, Junior A team, all that.
I'm sure there'll be people around, man.
It's always great getting out, but in the city, I think, how many streams do we have this week? 8? Something
it's not really that many. It's just the timing of them are all at the same time, right?
So how do you feel about while Dudes and I leave the province, you're kind of left in charge of High Button, Nova Scotia, I guess we'll call it.
Totally fine.
You're not
haven't even given a second thought.
Add some dramatic flair, Jeff. Say you're a little nervous. Get the people juiced up here.
I wish I was going with you, but
don't be nervous, man. You'll be fine.
I know.
All right?
Deep breaths, man.
I got this. No, I don't know. Just another weekend, man. Just another weekend.
All right, all right.
I don't know. Okay, all right.
Miserably.
I thought you were gonna go deep into it. I don't know.
We trained him too well. That's what happened.
Yeah, I'm just confident. That's what you trained
month
me
ago,
to be.
maybe we would
confident.
have had a different answer.
If I was nervous, I would give you. If this was last year at this time, I would be nervous. How about that? For sure.
That's what we're looking for.
But I think like just the way the start of this year's gone, it's just gone well, and I just don't. I know where we're going. You can knock, but bro, it's gonna like I've done all these games like 10 times already at these rinks, so I know as long as I'm there to guide it through, it'll be fine.
And that's the thing that we always talk about too. Is when you do new tournaments or you go to new events or new games or new teams or whatever the case may be, the biggest, like I'm not going to call it a fear, but the biggest thing that's you're thinking about the whole time is, getting there and getting set up and getting a feel for who's there, the rink, where you're going to be set up.
Are you talking about Fredericton or for
just for like him, just in general, right? Just
in
general, where what he's saying is that he's comfortable setting everything up. He's been there before. He knows the people probably working the gate and like the coaches on the team. Everyone you reckon. As soon as you recognize, it's fine because you can just walk through and do whatever you need to do.
I remember that was big for Mark.
Yeah.
At Sportsplex. I remember the first 2 games he walked in, and I don't think we had those high button, high collared shirts yet. And he'd walk in with all this equipment, and they'd question him. But then he's like, that third game, he's like, Justin, you wouldn't believe it. I walked in, and they didn't even say anything. They just bowed their head and like kind of let me go. And it's like that to this day. But it is just having a friendly face in the crowd. Go, oh, you guys are good, yeah, go. Because I remember back in the day, you'd have to go into a rink and explain who you are with this camera, filming these kids.
Anymore.
You're just
that
like
guy looking like me.
Yeah, it was a thing. Like it was, what do you guys? And we didn't even have an answer. We're just like, I don't know.
We're working.
We're here. I used to play in this tournament, so I know what I'm doing. So that was our excuse for everything.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, I think I think we got our bases covered. I'm excited to. It's exciting.
How do you feel about me being back here running high button Halifax?
No, you've proven yourself. If I didn't trust you, I'd definitely let you know, and I'd let you. Like I say, I'd let you know. But no, you've. What do we say? You've gone through the reps.
Oh yeah.
Like you've had to go to those East Hants Friday in the middle of February.
Triple overtime. 1
a.m. games.
Yeah.
Like you've proven yourself. Don't let that get to your head, because the moment you take advantage of it, I'll tell you. But don't let that get to your head. But no, you've gone through the gauntlet per se, and you've proven yourself. So once you're in that position to, I guess, manage people, I don't like to use the word manage, but if you can guide people to success, then that's kind of the next step for you. We'll see.
I can tell you this much: we wouldn't be going and leaving you here if we didn't. Right? That's just not. Sometimes you do need to be thrown to the wolves, but there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff. I feel like for us growing up, that was just how you learned.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely been times that week when we were in Moncton, and like when they had and none of us were here. I was more worried about that for sure. I was worried about that during that weekend. Yeah. So I think it's just because I'm here, and like, let's be real, like it's gonna go fine.
Yeah, good. I like Theo, and I like your boy there.
Yeah.
Mark's good.
Yeah.
And we might have someone from our. Did you reply?
Not yet, but
we need to lock that in.
We will.
But what was I gonna say? What was I going to say? It was unreal. It was a sick thing to say.
Can't be that sick if you can't remember.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't remember. I guess we could talk about the Philly pants. How incredible was that?
Oh, the Cooperalls.
Why didn't they wear them during the game? Does anyone know?
I think probably because it's just such a difference.
Insurance.
Probably not allowed, right?
Well, I don't know if there is, like, there may be like gear rules.
That's like the regulations part of rules.
But at the end of the day, like if you guys, all three of us went out right now, and for the first half of the game we wore our regular setup socks, pants, and then we went out for the rest of the game and wore pants over what you're wearing, it would be a little bit different, right? There's some resistance on the knee and stuff like that when you're trying to bend, I would imagine. It's just a different setup, so I just don't think...
Not fair to the players, almost.
They just wouldn't want to do it, I think. Yeah. And I think it's cool to go out and not have to worry about it and warm up and show them off and do your thing and slick your flow back and go no bucket, right? Like, because let's be real, that's the last league in the world that's not wearing cages by December, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of extra love there for watching that kind of stuff. But yeah, Cooperalls are sick, man.
Are they wearing them in the Winter Classic game? How many Winter Classic games are there? Because I know there's Pittsburgh, Philly.
Let's see.
I know Pittsburgh, Boston. Sorry, that's going to be an unreal game. Fenway during the World Juniors too. I know a couple people going to that actually. Yeah. It's probably why everyone's selling their tickets to the World Juniors.
They're driving down. Just
why wouldn't you? Boston. They drive to Boston.
12 hours.
Is that what it is? 12.
Yeah, if you drive like a 90-year-old.
Get there.
That's what Google Maps says.
No offense if there's any.
That says Google.
But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of Winter Classic games this year.
$300 for a ticket.
Is that what it is?
Fenway, and she's section G. Yeah, you'd be getting a nosebleed up there, buddy.
So the cheapest is $300.
Couple ants skating down there.
Plus fees, right? You never $600 for 2 tickets. Obviously, that math adds up.
We all know parking sucks down there too. I guess you maybe take the train in.
I still got my parking pass.
Yeah, you do. I love Boston. Such a great city. The
Oh, it
people
is.
are nice too.
That's similar to here, I find.
Oh, yeah.
Like your downtown core kind of feels like downtown Halifax. I know you're like 14, so you wouldn't really know, but
I've been to Boston, bro.
East
Boston
Coast
market.
East Coast people are East Coast people.
Yeah.
I've never been to New York. I hear people in New York are different, but East Coast people are East Coast people. Even down in Florida, I find people are very, how are you? Just a bunch of retired people.
Oh, yeah.
Just people seem pretty nice.
Well, if you go to LA or California and you're from here, it's going to be totally different. Like, than
I
Florida.
did it.
You know what I mean? It's not a
yeah.
climate thing. It's a coast thing, like you said.
Yeah,
Right?
West Coast is very different than the East Coast.
Yeah, you
especially
did it.
within the people and the weather. It was snowing in Vancouver the other day. I saw.
yeah.
When I was there, it only snowed once, and I was there for 2 years. It snowed in November.
global warming, but that's all that.
Yeah,
boils
it's
down to.
interesting how
Science.
I've done the research. I know how it works.
I
Did
Googled
you see
it.
that guy with the guy for the Nathan McKinnon video that we did?
Yeah.
Aiden interviewed him on the hill, and Aiden goes, "How many beers do you think Nate can drink out of the cup?" And he goes, "Well, I've done the science. I know the research, and the truth is,
Oh, yeah.
the truth is, if you win the cup, you can drink unlimited beers." So I know.
I've done the
I've done the research. That guy was great.
Dude, I was nervous that day. That was the day I was nervous for. Like,
Why?
I still get nervous about things. It's just
You should.
this particular thing this weekend I'm not, but there's definitely
Why were you nervous about that? You did a podcast with the guy a week before.
no, it wasn't
But you
nervous
weren't
about the Nate part. It's just like I hadn't like really shot videos like I do live streaming. Like that was like an actual video like with an SD card, and like as stupid as that sounds, like I just haven't done a lot of that like what you guys do. You know what I mean? I just do the live, hook it up to I can look at it on my computer, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was just like filming it, like hoping it was gonna turn out well.
Yeah.
Rather
it turned
than-
out great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was so nervous to hand that off to you. Man,
You know what those street interviews are great for transferring into real life is controlling a room. Like when you're doing street interviews, you're kind of controlling that other person, if you know what I mean, by applying your energy to them so they have to kind of feed it back to you.
Yeah.
And when you go into regular life and you're in a room that's you're really good at this too, oddly enough. Is you're being in a room that's off in an energy, maybe quiet, people aren't talking to each other. You just kind of know how to read a room and you know how to change the energy in it. It's a hard thing to explain. You got to actually do it. But those street interviews are great for that stuff. You got to be able to control your surroundings. Because think about it. You got, hey, camera guy, look over here. Get me on camera. When you got Nate to your right there holding the cup, it's like you got to pick and choose. So you got to control your energy of where the camera goes. I might be making no sense, but anyways.
No, you
that
are
a
making
thing?
sense. I was just gonna say in light of what you said, that's the one thing I haven't done. Like I've done camera, but like that's my biggest anxiety of the whole thing is
You haven't done street interviews?
No, man. And I'm like, everyone's like, what are you talking about? Because it's me, right? I'm like, I'm just an idiot. I talk all the time and I talk to whoever. And like you said, I go in a room and it's uncomfortable and I'll crack a dumb joke and try and make things. But interviews just don't. It just makes me nervous, man. Because like you said, there's so many variables and stuff, right? And like, you do have to set an energy because you don't just go up to a guy and say, these days, like here, interview, you kind of have to come up and you have to be smiling or kind
Yeah.
of, you and I have to be joking around or like,
Hey, brother, how are you? Do you mind if I get- it's just-
exactly.
yeah.
So it's like it's different, but there's times where like you especially in that scenario, man, it's a goddamn parade downtown Halifax. There's so many factors. You got to be watching the things in the parade. You got to be trying to find. There's people everywhere. There's cops. There's you know what I mean. You probably had a cord hanging. So
Oh,
you
yeah,
got to be
big ol'
flipping it up,
cord.
right? There's just so many things, and people
Yeah.
listen to this that work like construction or something like that. Like that's not hard, boys. Like it's not hard physically, no, but it is hard mentally to like keep all those things under wrap and still worry about the product of what you're doing.
I talked to Sab like a week after all that happened because he was on the float with
Oh, right.
Nate. So apparently when you guys were right next to like you guys were behind the cops pretty much.
We were with the cops.
You were with the
man.
cops.
We were
Good
so
play.
yeah.
so apparently there was confusion to who you guys were, but then as soon as they saw the mic flag, because it was Aiden, I don't think maybe Nate did meet Aiden.
No, he didn't.
First
No,
one.
the
First one 2 years ago. So maybe he just didn't remember him. But apparently, like they saw that the whole fire truck, and they're like, "Okay, you guys are good." But there was a conversation about it.
Oh, was there?
But yeah, just like who are these guys with the mic and the camera?
Yeah.
But then once you guys are good, and
Yeah.
and so here this behind that, I'm golfing in Cape Breton, no service on the 9th hole, not 9th, like the 6th hole in the middle of the field, the course. No service, and I finally get back to the clubhouse, connect to the Wi-Fi, and I get like 8 messages from Jeff. And then he's going, "This is gonna be the best video ever. The cops let us in. We were talking to Cogliano and Landeskog. Oh my God, the Mooseheads are here too." And it was just like 8 messages, and I was like, "Oh, thank God," because I was there stressing for 6 holes. I think I was like 8 over. And as soon as I got all those 8 messages, I'm like, "Oh, I still played terrible," but it's just great to like get all those messages.
Especially you.
Yeah, oh my God.
You're always stressing, like
always stressing,
constantly talking this guy down. Because everyone. I'm just, oh no, we'll deal with it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's pretty cool, man. Like I was rattled that I was gone for that, and I know you were too. But it was cool for you guys to get to be able to experience that.
Like
too,
I said, that was the most nervous I was about anything all summer, and it turned out to be one of the best days. Obviously, right?
Isn't that funny how that works?
The
most
funny.
Fear.
Yeah.
On the other side of fear is just greatness.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, because fear is good. Like I get nervous for beer league games most times. Like still, just because it's. Yeah. I'm not my whole night isn't going to be ruined if we lose, but like you care enough about it so you get nervous, right? You care about the product, you care about how you're going to perform or whatever the case may be. Like that's just how it is. If you're not nervous for something, you probably just don't give a shit, I
saw like one of those quotes. It was like fear is a it's like a blessing. It's like most people wake up every day and some people don't have like a motive or a goal. They're not nervous about anything because they know the routine. But if you have fear faced in your life every day, it's kind of a blessing because it's, you go through growth, I guess, with fear.
It's hair in your chest, right?
Still don't have any, but yeah.
Still don't have any.
I guess
enough fear.
Yeah. Love adversity, hate getting it.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yep.
Love adversity, hate getting it. Think about that.
It's the love adversity part sounds stupid, but at the end of the day, it's not getting adversity that you love. It's coming out on the other side of it is what you love.
Satisfaction.
Exactly, but you don't get that feeling unless you get the adversity, right? It's just a shortened
problem solved.
Yeah, it's kind of a stupid quote, but we use it a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just something that kind of keeps you going. It's like sun's coming out.
Get the Twiggies going.
The vibe's getting down on the course, and you just go, "Oh, look, boys, sun's coming out," and you'll get at least one of the other 3 guys to peek to see if, and then everyone's back in good spirits, right? Because everyone loves the sun when you're golfing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just all right, we're back.
Golf courses are losing money right now. No, they could be open.
The thing is, though, think about it from a business perspective. Like, yeah, they could be open and charging $40 green fees because you're walking, right? So then you got to pay your maintenance guys and the kitchen, and so you're not gonna, like, for example, at the golf course at the end of the season there was. That weekend that was super nice. It was jam packed, right? But it's like there's 15, 20 groups a day instead of like 300. So it's like translate that into who you're paying to keep the guys working and coming in every morning. So it's just they could be open and some people will stay open, but at the end of the day you're spending money that you just can't afford to be spending, right?
Yeah,
especially these days.
A lot of upkeep with those courses.
Well, they ideally want 15 employees. Like Cabot has 500 employees, and I think where I was this summer we had like in the maintenance crew 8 maybe, and 14 is the ideal minimum number. So that's I'll tell you what, working at the golf course really opened my eyes to, I don't complain about the golf course because I suck and I'm not good enough to complain. Nothing at the course is going to affect the way I play.
What do you mean
grass.
You suck at golf?
Golf.
What does that have to do with working there?
I'm just saying, I don't complain. You hear people the grass is too long, or the collars are this, or the greens are slow, and it's there is so much to keeping a golf course game ready at the peak of the summer, man. Especially this summer, no rain, right? Grass is all burnt, and people are it's dry here, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'm changing garbage cans. Do I look like the guy that's keeping the grass wet? It didn't rain, but anyways, it just opened my eyes to what it's like to grind through a golf course and keep that, place buzzing for everybody to be happy.
Yeah. It's a great part of people's summer, golf.
Oh, definitely.
It's a lot of fun.
Taking over. It's I got buddies that never, including me, that never once even owned a golf club, and now all they do is golf.
Yeah. You got one right here.
That's what I mean.
When I first met you, you didn't even have your first set yet, and now you're like...
I'll say that. When I was done... I probably finished lacrosse. I've always played hockey in the winter, but the summer I did not. Lacrosse was my summer thing. and I probably finished, 5 years ago. So I didn't have that summer thing. I didn't have that because I don't play hockey in the summer.
Summer identity.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't have my summer identity.
Yeah.
And as soon as I was introduced to golf and how that world worked, I found my thing, and I think a lot of people did.
I just find golf such a good mixture of competition and leisure.
And people,
you know what I mean?
People.
Because the other thing is, it's different in the sense where you and I were all used to playing team sports, right? Like I never played badminton or whatever growing up. So you rely on your teammates, and you do, and that's kind of like a culture thing. But in golf, it's on you, right? Maybe in a scramble, you can rely on the other guy, but it's like you can't get mad at anybody but yourself. You made the bad shot, but it's competition. You can compete with your buddies and stuff. It's not physical, but it's just like you're chilling. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're just there to get out of the house. Yeah. Or to get away from the things you hate.
But that's also a freeing feeling because then you're not letting anyone down. So if you start playing like crap, you're like, oh, well, I'll always have next week. or next shot. Next shot, you know what I mean?
You know what? I never thought of that.
You never want to give up on other things because you're like letting people down. But it's like, if I'll start playing my hardest. And then, like, if, like, 5 holes in, I'm just down the tubes. I'm like, all right, crack a couple more beers. Like, this ain't my round. And no one else cares because they can play their own games.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You know?
It's all, when you're having those games, it's about not bringing the group down.
That's what I was just going to say.
I've been that guy, and I've only been that guy once because I learned my lesson. Because like I said, I'm aware of reading rooms, energy, all that shit. And I was like, I'm being that guy right now. And ever since that day, and I caught myself, never been that guy since.
You stopped getting invited and stuff,
yeah.
too.
Well,
I went Thursday or Sunday with Campbell and Wig and all. It's like... Yeah. Best group you can go with, like my boys, and I was just terrible. Like, and I'm like all right on a good day, but just like not making any shots. And I'm like, boys, if I wasn't with you guys, I would be losing it right now because you don't want to be the guy that brings the group down, especially on the last day of the year. You know, everyone's like, okay, well, we're not inviting him again because he killed our vibe the whole time, just complaining, throwing your club, or whatever. I don't throw my clubs, but
let me ask you this: if you played on an NHL team where you were in a climate that allowed golf year round, and you were a bubble guy, like bottom 6, every now and then you might get sent down to the A, would you play golf, or would you just strictly focus on hockey?
I would say if you were allowed to, I would.
Really?
Man, why not? Like, I know we obviously have no idea what their schedule is like, right? Like, kind of on the outside. We've heard about it. Yeah. But, like, do you have time?
Yeah, you definitely
golf,
have time.
Like, do you, though?
Yeah, man. I follow Colorado, oddly enough. And, they've had, 4 days off this year in a row at home. Like, they'll play Winnipeg at home, 4 days off, and then the next thing they got
that's true.
New Jersey. So you're telling me in those 4 days, coach is going to bag you? Even if he does bag you, practice is over at noon. You got all day.
All depends how you're playing, how that goes.
That's my point. If you're that guy on the bubble, do you want to show your teammates there could be a couple snitches on the team. Hey, look, Justin went golf, and you never know. It's just at that level, you got to do everything you can to stay there.
100%.
So that was because I remember talking to someone who was in the NHL and was on the bubble. And I was like, when you're over there, do you golf at all? And he goes, nah, like I just try to focus on hockey. I really try not to golf and play these games. It's just focus. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's interesting. I don't know how I would react to that if I was in a climate that you could play year round and had 4 days off and knowing there's a golf course 2 streets over. Well, how am I supposed to focus on hockey when I'm looking at it? I don't know.
I think that's kind of what boils down to making some of the tougher things of being a pro. It's a read and react situation, right? Like, when coach is mad or when management's mad at you personally or at the team. Mm. You're not going to go in the middle of a shitter of 4 games or whatever and go golfing on a day where it's an optional practice type deal, right? Obviously, that goes without saying. Mm. But it's being a professional, man. You got to know when to go golfing and when to go put the extra work in. And I think the thought process of having to fight for your life every single day benefits people. And then other guys just say, well, whatever, I'm just going to go golfing because I'm not getting in the lineup anyways, right? Mm. But then you're getting sent down. So that's that like mental battle that they probably have to deal with. I have no idea actually if that's how it is, but that's what I'm guessing. Mm. Read and react, just like you said. Walk into a room, you can tell if it's, way out there joke or it's just a subtle, hey, how you guys doing type deal.
Also like leadership group.
Yep.
It's like, okay, are the leaders going golfing?
Well, that's it.
That's a big one.
If it's just you, you're probably kind of like nobody wants to go golfing, and you're just like something's
terrible
up here. Yeah. I played 3 minutes last night. Like I'm going golfing.
Yeah, I'm good. I played 3 minutes.
You're like Christ. 4 days off, especially if you're a young guy too. Like there's those 4 days off for guys with families and stuff. Those are crucial days. You know what I mean? and like families don't really get talked about enough. And like, imagine how tough that would be for your
Kids.
especially with
Wife.
kids, right? So those 4 days, why do you think Tom Brady came back? You know what I mean? He got home and got home, and he was like, man, I got to cook and clean and worry about the kids going here and there. He's like, I'm just going to go play football, I think. You know what I mean? But it's crazy. You need those days. So the young guys probably go out and golf and stuff like that. And the other guys are like, nah, like going home with the wife or whatever, which is the right thing to do, right, at the end of the day.
Do you guys ever do any reading?
I wouldn't say I consider myself a reader. I read things that I want to.
Yeah, I've been reading the sports autobiographies on the hockey players. So I read like Messier's, Avery's, like Brian Burke's. Like when we were in Moncton, I was crushing that Brian Burke book in the car when we were driving around.
You were either sleeping in the book or reading it, one or the other.
And so I've been like learning about like all the different like just behind the scenes of the hockey, and they have a lot of free time. Like you'd be shocked. Like they send it. Like like I totally agree with what you were saying. Like you see like their snap stories, like all this stuff, and you're like, all right, like it's not like it's their whole focus, but it's not their whole life. Like they're all, and they go out like a lot too. Like they'll go out until like 3 a.m. and then come back and like have morning skate at 7. But because they're just so used to it, like they're animals. It's always interesting, like reading the different perspectives.
Well, it is interesting because there's some guys who are on the bubble of these NHL teams, and they'll still be in school taking a class here, a class there, because you just never know.
Yeah, you gotta have a backup.
You just never know, because the NHL, it's very short lived for most guys, and if you're in there, okay, great. Let's say you make $1 million. A year, what's the minimum? $750 a year?
I think it's $750.
I think it is,
yeah.
Like if you can make $750 American for 1 year, I'm not saying you're set for life, but you can do some good things with that.
You see half of that after taxes.
Depends where you're at.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But
you're in the Canadian market, you're
for the
getting
most
dinged
part,
a little
guys
harder.
get nailed right for it.
But still, no one's going to sit here at this table and say half at 750,000, it's 375 or whatever it is a good amount of money for a year's salary, right? I know it's hard, and I'm not an NHL hockey player, and I never was close, but that's a lot of money, man. If you gave me $375,000 right now, I'd be good for a while. But here's the thing: a lot of people are realizing this, Belly, and because the game has shifted to a young man's game and it's so fast and hard, there's more injuries. Have you noticed? People don't fight through injuries as much anymore. They just do it on the playoffs. Back in the day, in the 80s. If you said your armpit hurt or you had your tummy was upset, like you were just getting cut, like because you played through that, and now it's just different now. Everyone's about taking care of their bodies and all that stuff, right? But I feel like they go out as much still. Like we'll never know, but I feel like that part of it has changed kind of because everyone's got nutritionists and therapists and like what are they bringing them to the moose with?
We're all human though, man. We're all human. Like
no, I don't. There's few that aren't.
There's robots.
I just mean we're all human. Like they're gonna get bored. Like as much as they like that stuff, they're gonna get bored and they're gonna be like, all right, like I'm going out with the boys. Like every guy wants to go with the boys, and then if you can get in a rhythm of doing it and like being able to practice the next morning,
and also staying out of the limelight, like cameras.
And then you're on a road trip with all your boys for the next 2 weeks, going to all these different cities. Like they're getting after it, right? There's no way they're not.
Yeah, that's a read and react situation for them probably as well. I'm not going to speculate. I know if it were me, at this point in my life, I'd probably be pretty good at like staying in and stuff like that. But if I was 19 in the NHL, I wouldn't have been there long, I don't think.
Yeah. I wonder what Sid's like as a leader right now. I wonder if he even has to say anything, or the guys just look at him and go, "Okay, he's doing that. I'm doing it then."
He doesn't need to.
He doesn't
say
even
anything.
need exactly.
Everyone knows. Like there's kids in the NHL right now that grew up watching Sid play.
Yeah, but the difference of seeing him in the room.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. But now you get to see it. Like everyone knows what he's about.
Yeah.
Right?
After a 6-game losing streak, though.
On the ice, I meant. On the ice.
Well said, Jeff. Like what kind of leader is he right now? So hypothetical, Sid's there. What are they? 6-game losing streak, 7-game.
It ain't pretty.
And he, I don't know who who's the defenseman there on Pittsburgh. No, the young guy from PEI, Joseph. Hypothetical Joseph, if you're listening. And he goes out to the bar, and they got a game in 3 days. Sid gets wind of it. Well, what does Sid do? Does he take care of it internally? Does he go to the coach? I just want to know what kind of leader Sid is, with that aspect of everything. But I know on the ice, he doesn't have to lead by mouth. He just does what he does, and people go, "Oh, this guy's working his bag off. I'm going to do that."
I feel like if I were to guess, based on what I've seen in interviews and stuff like that, I know he's so well trained, but I think what he is he's just not going to say much, but when he does, it has merit. You listen. Like, he's not always like, boys, let's do this. Boys, let's get out there. Come on, boys, we need to get pucks in deep. Boys, come on, let's go. Boys, they're beating us down low, like all this stuff. He leads by example. He's the first one there. He's the last one. He's always working on tips or picking up pucks off the wall, like, wall retrievals and stuff like that. But then he's just probably, when he does say something, everyone's like, you listen, because you're like, okay, he barely speaks up. And this is me guessing. He barely speaks up, and now something has ticked him enough to address us all verbally. Yeah. And that's how I picture him being.
See, I kind of have it opposite. I picture him being can I talk to you aside? Like, pull the guy aside.
Oh, yeah? Like, and even in the smallest situations?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I kind of picture that. I could be wrong once again, but I kind of picture him being hey, do you mind if I just talk to you on the side real quick? Just I don't know.
That's a cool part about being a fan.
But he that's the thing. Hopefully he's on here one day so you can ask that. I'll straight up be like, what kind of leader are you?
Yeah,
I'd love to fucking know his answer.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what kind of
leader? Highlight of your life, man. If you ask Sid a question like that, and he's thinking, and he's in deep thought trying to answer. But anyway,
like, what kind of leader?
I think I'm be curious about any captain in the NHL.
Can you answer that though? Like, that's such a tough question, like, to answer, and I feel like he'd be so like media trained that he'd just be like, like.
Who I'm going to talk about here. I'm not going to say his name. But we had a captain that I asked to come on the podcast, and he said no. And he's just, I'm sorry, it's not a limelight guy.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pass respectively. And I was absolutely no problem. If you ever change your mind, let me know. And I told dudes, and he goes, that's why he's the captain. And he's just, he's not a captain anymore. But like, it's that mentality of, I'm fine. I don't need to shed light on myself or talk about myself. It's just that that's who you want as a captain. And that's I'm sure quality. Sid has had to gone through those moments where he has to talk about himself because people ask him every day about himself. But that's the mentality you want. You just want the guy who's just putting his head down, showing up to work, blue collar, suitcase. Don't know what's in the suitcase, but just that type of guy.
Yeah.
Just empty.
Work boots on.
No, there's something in there. There's something in the. You can't have a captain with a briefcase with nothing in there. You got to carry like some metal. Something, that'll scrape you. Something,
in case you get in a scrap. Isn't it crazy to think about, like, us here at 30, or I don't know how old Jeff is, like 13 or whatever, but we're 30, and being a captain means something so much different now than when we were kids. Like, you thought in minor hockey, it's usually your best player, like in PE and stuff like that. It's just your best player, the coach's son, or whatever it is. And then, but you get a little older and you start to realize what a leader is. And some guys are and some guys aren't, and that's fine, right? Because that's what makes the dynamic of a team so interesting. But you have this, like, I want to be the captain, because I remember playing for the Max, man. That's all I wanted. I don't know why I wanted it, just to be captain. Yeah. But once I wasn't, I'm not, like, sucky about it. I was like, I tried and I didn't get it. But, you get an A still, so that's cool. But it's just, like, it meant so much different. You were like, I'm the best player, like, on our team. I'm the captain. And now you see guys, and then you get older, and the grizzled vet on your junior team is just this guy that mucks pucks and, like, he eats pucks for a living and he's just hitting. He's got like 4 points all year, but he's the captain because everybody respects him. And it's just a completely different mindset once you pass like 17 or 18, Yeah. It's wild. Like Q teams, their best players with the most points don't even have letters. And you're as a kid, you're going, what? Like, why isn't he the captain? He's the best player in the league, Yeah. But then you do have the guys like McDavid and stuff who are a rare breed that are clearly going to be the captain.
Yeah.
You can't not give him the captain.
Yeah.
Imagine if they didn't.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give it to Matthews.
Yeah, but Toronto's a different breed.
that was something else, man. Remember that big discussion, Matthews or Tavares, who was going to be captain?
That was a big thing.
And they gave it to Tavares.
My vote was Tavares.
Yeah, it was the right
Toronto
call.
Boy.
It was the right call. You can't give
How are we saying it's the right call? They haven't done anything.
Hey.
He could strip that C and give it to Matthews. Maybe that'll change the culture and they'll win a couple games. I mean, is there no point that like that? Like
I guess I'm biased because I love Canadians and I just love that Johnny's the C and he's Canadian, good old Canadian boy.
There's enough Canadian captains. There's no shortage.
He just has that. He got that grit. He's not that Matthews doesn't.
Do you want to know why Tavares is the captain? Because Tavares has been through the shit. Tavares has been through the ups and downs of a hockey team. He's been through being the top dog in the in the nation being drafted. He was an underager in junior, and he tore up, and he was a first overall pick, and he was supposed to be the savior of the Islanders, and he persevered through that. They went back to New York, and he got booed every time, and he never once freaked out about it. He's been through the ringer, and that's why he's the captain. He had been in the league at least 10 years. He's an Ontario kid who very verbally and vocally was a Leafs fan as a kid once he was out of New York. You don't bring him in at $33 billion a year and not give him the captain. If Matthews, though, was in the league for a lot longer at that point, it would have been him, I think.
I just think it's such a commitment.
It is, but you're committed to him anyway.
You're gonna strip him and give it to Matthews when the time's right, because
that's the thing about the coaching and stuff, though. They can decide those things, right? Like if Keefe gets fired, then another coach comes in and doesn't see Tavares as the captain, then he can absolutely go Matthews as the captain now, right? That might change the culture, but I don't think switching a letter is gonna flip the switch for the Leafs at this point, to be honest with you.
You just talked about how important a captain was.
It is, but think about this: Johnny gets injured in playoffs, and he comes back, and the other thing about being in the NHL, and this is one thing that people don't see, is you have to be a community activist, like you do. And Matthews is a lot about fashion and being with Biebs and walking the runway and being at big events. But John Tavares is out at. I'm not saying Matthews isn't, but John Tavares is out at the hospitals and stuff like that. I'm not saying Matthews isn't, but Tavares has been doing these things as a professional for that amount of time, and he's the face of that.
Yeah,
I met him after the Olympics. Came to the hotel I worked at, shook his hand, looked me in the eye, had all the time in the day for me. Like didn't just I've shook an NHL guy's hands who just went thanks man, just walked away from me. Johnny T walked into the lobby. He was probably 6 months after winning the gold medal. He got hurt actually. He didn't play that much. Remember that year back in 2010, I think?
Yeah. I think, was it 14 where he ran his leg into the post?
Yeah, it was that year.
Was that him or Stamkos?
No, it was Tavares.
Okay.
Stamkos did do that, but that was with Tampa, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, walked into the lobby. I looked him in his eyes. I said, "Hey, Johnny, congrats on the gold. Big fan of you. Welcome to the hotel." And he said, "Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it." And yeah, because back then, you probably still do it now. You wear name tags. So mine just said Justin. He goes, "Oh, Justin, man, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Happy to bring one back for the team." And just like, all right, check you in right there. I'll take your bags up to the room. And he was just one of those guys. Because at the hotel, like all the NHL guys from Ontario came in to skate with Sid and Nate. There's some guys who just don't have the time of day for you. And there's some that just go, "Oh, no way." Another guy was Eric Johnson from Colorado.
Yeah.
All the time in the day for you. Just, he would be waiting
EJ.
He'd be waiting for his car out front. And, he'd just be having his coffee. I'd be having my coffee too, to believe it or not, in uniform. And yeah, just like waiting out front all the time in the day. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I actually used to play with at the Mooseheads right there down the street." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, Nate talks about them all the time." He's just one of those guys who's good people.
Who was that?
Eric Johnson.
Oh, EJ. That's what they call him in the biz.
In the biz.
Yeah, he was good on spitting chicklets. He seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, he was loaded.
They're so good at picking their guests, though. Like, they know who they're going to get and not. Like, God, because you get some people, like, remember when we first started the podcast and you were like, "Man, I hope this guy talks." But now you just know that they're going to. We're a lot better, too. Not necessarily me, but you for sure. Just at, like, not controlling the room, but just, like, giving a good vibe off so that the guy comes in, they're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it boils down to.
Big one I like to do is meet them in the driveway. Don't let them knock on the door because then they don't. I don't know. There's something about knocking on a door that's intimidating. We've all been there.
Anxious.
And especially a door you don't know. You don't want to knock on, especially that door.
You take that pause.
Yeah.
That pause.
You're like, "Oh, I hope this is the right door."
Yeah.
That side door on the left, just knock. I'll be there. It's like, no. I'm going to open the door for you. I'm going to meet you out front, shake your hand. "Hey, Jim, how are you? Welcome. I'm Justin Belanger. Come on inside. Can I get you a water? This is Jeff, our producer. Take a seat. Let's talk."
Mm-hmm.
There's something about that makes the guests a little bit more comfortable, I think. I had a great thought again, and I forgot it.
Well,
I was on a roll.
It was about captains?
No, I'm done with that. It was about Johnny T. Maybe. No, Johnny T did he made his peace with us, Johnny T.
Well, they made Hubert out captain in Calgary, didn't they? Before he even played a game.
Did they?
I think he's got the C.
Does he?
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to find out.
Good for Uyghur, for what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. He was just like I'm not going to call him a no-namer, but he just like kind of came in as like an American with the Mooseheads and was just an absolute mucker. And he was a beauty, man. Like, had a few beers with him back in the day, but he just like he played that gritty, mucky style that was almost kind of on the push out, And now he's worked himself into a crazy, like I can remember being in a kitchen with him having beers,
Dude,
and then
he was
he's playing in Calgary.
Yeah, he was the second biggest part of that like Huberto Chuck
Yeah.
deal. Like people were like it should have been 1 for
He's a
1.
fantasy
but they threw in
weapon.
this great player and Uyghur.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's the biggest trade in the past like 5 years in the NHL. He was a big part of it.
It's crazy to think. Mem Cup champion, President's Cup champion.
Could be Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far.
You don't know.
Battle of Alberta, this guy.
Yeah.
He's still
Maybe
staying
if
up
he stayed in
late. He's still
Florida.
staying up late watching these games.
Got it.
Not
Of course. They finally got a win against Tampa last night. Much needed.
I know I needed that fantasy win too.
Needed that win.
Is Tampa still
Needed it.
good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They won the President's or the Eastern, or like they were in the Eastern Conference the past 5 years.
Who?
Tampa.
Yeah. The restructure of that all these years has been super weird.
Oh, they're really good at it, man. They brought in that Hagel guy. He was noticeable in that game last night against the Oilers. Like he replaced Palat and like all they just.
I love Palat.
Yeah, he's
Such a
injured.
great-
He went
oh,
to
is
New
he?
Jersey. Not to New Jersey. He's out for like 8 weeks at least.
Graves had a couple goals last night, or he's had 2 back-to-back goal games. Or
New
something
Jersey,
like that.
man, they're
7 in a row.
Oh, Liam O'Brien got a goal last night.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
saw that
boy,
when I was
tuna.
going through the end of the night scroll through the stats.
they love him on social media.
Yeah.
Let's
Hey?
just talk about Liam for a second
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Talk about, not that he was an incredible player in junior, but you just talk about a guy that molded his way to professional hockey.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy you talk about. Like his name came out in junior hockey, sure, like every now and then. He was a big 20 in Rouen. But like I don't think there's any other guy that I know of that you just don't go, wow, he made it happen.
On his own.
On his own. No help. Fought the toughest of the tough. Went from team to team to find a spot. And he lands in Arizona, and he's a full-time NHLer and just never gave up. Because you know that the bag was calling in Europe. You just know the bag was calling in Europe. Even though Europe might not be his style, you know he could have went to Europe and made some money. You
His
know
wife's
that.
European too, I think. So
Oh,
that's
is
a big
she?
fact. I think.
I don't know. And, oh, yeah, I think she... I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
And just grinded through professional hockey, then comes out on the other side with a contract in the NHL one way with the Arizona Coyotes. Mark, correct me if I'm pretty sure it's one way. Just wow. Just bravo.
Honestly, though, because that's not an easy thing, man, coming up. And how many fighters we had on this podcast, and they tell you how nerve-wracking it is to be the night before a fight and you're going into the next game and you're like, okay, who's in the lineup? Now you're looking at the opening lineup, and just to have to know think about going into a game, you know you have to fight Tom Wilson or something, you know, or like
Reeves.
whatever, Reeves. And he just does it, but it's perseverance, man. But you know what I've noticed about Tuna is that he just always is happy. You know, like maybe he isn't always. He's a human, but he just seems to be like, you know, he just keeps getting his shot and he's happy with the shot and he's gonna go for it and do big things, and the fans love him, man. Like, and you know damn well the teammates love him, because how many of teams are like the Leafs are always on the forefront for they don't have toughness, they don't have a guy that's gonna back up the Stars. He's that guy. But if you watch him play, there's some meatheads out there that are tough guys that they're getting burned all the time, and they tell them to go up the ice, get it in, and get off. OB can play both ends of the ice because, like you said, he's molded his game. He's had to do this to make a team. He's had to do this to make a team. He's had to do this to make a team. And eventually you start to sharpen those skills, and then you land in Arizona. Who cares if they don't win? He's got an NHL contract. It's Arizona. I'm sure there's tons of shit to do. You know, you want to talk about golfing climate, and they love him on social media. He's got the big, long flow
smiling.
and the scar on his nose. You know what I mean? And he did score.
I remember when
Yeah.
he came over, there was
Boy,
like 2
OB.
years ago. And I asked him, I was like, is Europe in the possibility? Like, what's the... He looked at me like I was an idiot. He goes, no, I'm playing in the NHL. Like, I'm playing in the NHL. And this was like 2 years ago. And he just, like, he looked at me like I was a moron. No. I'm playing. I'm going to the... I'm going to be a full-time NHL. That's the plan. That's going to happen. Like, the way he said it with confidence, it was just... And then for it to happen... And I took a picture the other day of his jersey in a skate sharpening, the place next to Centennial. It was both the Barron brothers, then OB's jersey in the middle. And he messaged me with like the fire emoji. I was like, keep going, buddy.
That's
The
unreal.
boy, he reached out. Like, I didn't message him. He messaged me. He goes, what did I say to him? I was like, hey, we're behind you. The whole province has your back. Keep pushing. Have fun or something. And he goes, hell yeah, brother, or something like that. You know, just,
Yeah, bro.
He's just, you
I
know.
was pumped when I saw you scoring, man, on
Yeah.
the app.
OB, man.
He's just a good guy too, above all else. Like, and it's cliche to say, but like, he's one of those good, pure, like, guys in hockey. You know what I mean? He's a big community guy. He loves giving back. He knows where he's from. But we had his dad on too, so you see where it's from.
Yes, his
right?
old man.
Like,
yeah.
Sean's a beauty.
Sean, yeah.
And
He had good things to say about you. Like drafted you to junior A or something?
Yeah, he did. He was a big part of it. Yeah, like that was camera talk, right? But he he knows the dirt.
Yeah, take fit in where you get in. What do they say?
Get in where you fit
in.
That's the situation.
Junior B.
I want to see if he's
not junior B, junior A.
If it is a one-way contract.
I'm pretty sure it's a one-way. 2 years one way.
775.
That's what I always think about when we're going over a stat. And then people know the stat, and they're just yelling at us. Like,
I do that to you all the time when you say something. I'm like, it's not showtime, it's showcase.
Idiot, I do that to other people on Chicklets if they don't know something. It's like, didn't you see the news 2 hours ago? They announced this already.
Man, now we're gonna have to beep that part. Oh, you can't say in this show.
What did he say? Oh, he said the Chicklet spitting. That's what I say. Yeah. I don't care. I don't know why.
No, I was just kidding. I was kidding. I listened to him.
I remember we mic'd up someone. You were there, actually. No, you weren't there. Yo, you might have been. When we mic'd up that guy for in high school. It was during the game in Sackville. He played for Citadel. Remember? And he pointed us. He goes, that's for high.
Oh, yeah. Akeem, his last name was.
It was just at that game. I don't know where you were, but I was by myself.
Akeem Doer-Farrell.
Yeah. I was like by myself for a second. I don't know where you were. Some guy came up to me and he goes, high button, right? I go, yeah, high button, sure. He goes, you guys are doing like the whole spit and chicklets thing, right? And it just crushed me.
Yeah, right, I know.
Really? Yeah, he goes, you guys are like doing the spit and chicklets thing, right? And I was just like, I guess.
I'm like that too. At the beginning, because I was playing this game and you had to put a chirp about somebody and then you had to guess who wrote it.
Yeah.
And one of them was like, and one of the answers was like, he thinks he's in Spit and Chicklets, but he's not, or something like that. And
someone said that to you?
Someone wrote that. It's an anonymous game. Like you play it. It was during COVID. You play I can't remember what it's called, but it's like all these guesses, and you had to write and you had to guess who wrote what.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm just sitting there. I play it off. I'm good at that. Just like I'm not phased. Like, but I went to sleep that night. I'm like, that's fucking.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to be that. Like, why are they saying that? I'm a nice guy. I thought, next game I'm being more gutless. The hell with this. But then you just somebody trying to be funny, right? And I've obviously crossed the line way too many times. So it's like for me to get mad at that but it's at the same time it kind of pushes you. I'm like, I listen to it all the time. They're funny, and the more you read, and the more you listen to things, the more you learn, right? Like that's just how it is. And plus Biz now gets to hang out with Wayne Gretzky, and he's always giving tidbits about what Wayno's saying. So I'm into that,
At the end of the day, they're making money doing what they love, and that's what we're doing. So we can't be mad at them. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
They're doing what they love.
They're an inspiration to me.
We're full head of Chicklets. They're spitting them.
If Spit and Chicklets called Jeff to come work for them, he'd be out of here in a second. See you boys.
No comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that shirt will be wrapped around your head some fast, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're at home sitting. You guys see the producer for High Button?
In the Giants baseball t-shirt?
He's unbelievable.
No, but I actually see Grinelli and what he does, and people give him like a hard time online. They're like, this guy doesn't do anything. He sits around, blah, blah, blah. But he's a hard worker. Like, he's good at producing. As someone who does the production for
he
this
edits
one.
their videos too.
Yeah, and he organizes like the Chicklets cups.
Think about how much
he does all the merch
do.
stuff.
That's nuts.
Yeah, he's very good at his job, but it's so easy to be online and be like, oh, he gets to hang out with them. He got a Rolex. And I'm not saying everyone deserves a Rolex, but it's just like,
Dustin,
bro, it's like this guy's hustling. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's not that good. Good for him.
That's what you do, though, right?
Well, you got to work. You got to do what you got to do. How much time are we at on this podcast?
I knew that was the next question.
45 minutes?
53 minutes.
I always ask it at 45.
Do you?
Yeah.
Not today, buddy.
Yeah.
The average
Not
time.
your strongest suit.
Just got to whiff my hands. Hockey hands, man. Yeah. It's the worst.
What's the shaving cream?
You got to shave to have that stuff.
I remember in junior high. Yeah. I remember junior high.
What?
Well, like those junior high dances, I had to practice before. And we were all going to the dance after, like our teammates. We showered, and then after we got shaving cream. We're all rubbing our hands with shaving cream because we don't want to be at the dance smelling like Ockies. We're all there rubbing our hands with shaving cream.
Who taught you that one, Lisa?
No, I don't know who. It was just one of the boys. Like, oh yeah, boys, like shaving cream. That's the one. Like you won't smell like anything.
Funny how things change. You go from the hands to the breath. later on in life.
You're just trying.
I gotta need an apple.
You're trying to touch the booty, so you gotta make sure your hands smell good, right? You gotta go behind.
Hockey hands.
I never went to dances.
Yeah, we went to the
semi,
Halifax West. I got kicked out of it.
the Lebanese dances.
No, remember we were in the back of the space van eating apples and
yes,
peanut butter.
Yeah.
Got rid of your breath.
The space van, man.
Space van.
Oh, baby. I can't believe you just brought that up.
We could do a whole episode on that.
You could.
I want to do a cartoon bit of you going down Quinpool in the space van and us having to jump in because you didn't want to stop. I want to make like a cartoon of that and put it on.
That would be sick. That was such a...
We'll save that for another time.
That was in... Yeah, it was Quinpool.
Well,
going to Patty Hall.
You did it everywhere.
Doing. Yeah, true. Remember we used to drive around with the door open and pump music? But do you remember the back seats used to spin?
Yeah.
So like you could spin them around and lock them so you could face like the back, or you could just keep them on like wide open and they would just spin around. Like I can't believe we never got pulled over for some of the shit we would do, man.
Not a seatbelt in sight.
Driving as fast as I can to try and go up a snowbank, and you just get the nose of it stuck in like that. The front tires are spinning. The boys are in the back like yeah.
We'd be trying to because practice was always at 4:30, like right after school, and there's so much traffic. So dudes is trying to take a left. So whoever's sitting in the passenger lane dudes would be like, get out, go in the middle of the road, stop the traffic. I'm gonna take this left, and then dudes would keep going. You have to run and catch up to the car, jump back in.
Why?
It's veteran leadership.
Hard to start?
Well, because we're late for practice all the time. Because dudes had to pick up like 5 guys around the city. Then we'd go to practice, but you just got to move. You can't.
Same with Huey too.
Huey
and his caravan, the green caravan.
Yeah.
He would legitimately pull up to my house and he would just put it in neutral and roll by, and he'd make me launch the gear and dive in the back and then get in the front, right? Because I was right off the highway, so I was the first one to get picked up. Just idiots. And like driving around, blasting music, yelling at people, like nothing bad, but just like, how you doing? Or like trying to scare people. And it's just like no one. The only time I ever got stopped was when I did 30 laps of the rotary in a row.
Yeah, the rotary.
And that was pretty much it. But were you
30 laps of the rotary?
Yeah, just to see how. I don't know why. We did like 6, and then it was my buddy Cam that passed, and he's like dying laughing in the front seat. He's giggling. He's like, go again. So we're just like driving around and around and around and around, and finally we got stopped. And the cops like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, honestly,
you're just like on the inside lane
just
of the
going around.
Armdale.
Oh yeah, causing
and you're
backups.
Just going all around.
Honda Civic, no muffler. Wow, around the rotary.
Dying, man.
Just idiots, man.
We could still do that.
He could, but it's different now. When you're 17, they're like,
gas is too pricey.
They're like, can't do that. Like he's like, how old are you? 31. He's like, you know that you can't do this. Like there is no excuse. You don't get slapped on. It's like, you'll get caught stealing at 40. Well, I didn't know like that it was illegal. Like yeah, you did. You know.
See, it's funny. You could get away with this if you're like 70 or 80, because then you could play the I'm old card, and you can get away with it when you're young. But in between 30 and 60, it's like, you know what you're doing.
Sweet spot there for them.
Exactly.
They're gonna get
So when we're 70, 80, we'll do it again.
I'm like, I've learned a lot of these lessons, right? There's no way to.
Yeah.
30 laps of the inside track of the rotary.
Man, when you're poor and bored, you'll do anything to make yourself pass the time.
Ain't that the truth? I've pitched full 9-inning games to my buddy before, because we had no internet or anything like that. So he'd go put the catcher's glove on, and I'd first pitch, ball, walk guys, strike guys out. He'd call homers, like full 9-inning games. Be out there for 3.5 hours, and then we'd switch. And that's what you did, because there was, and that's not. I'm not saying I'm a fossil, and there was no internet. We didn't have it. There was no TV. We didn't have cell phones.
The neighbor's house was too far to rip their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Scry field. And that's what you did, man. And we played rebound. A couple of the boys come over, one guy going nets.
Yeah, that's still, even if you have money, you still play that. That's a great game.
We played a lot of street hockey when I was a kid.
We played with like a lot of time I can. Just ball glove and a blocker, no pads, and the goalie stick. Just don't shoot it at my shins.
Playing with rocks.
Did you guys play? Did you play a lot of street hockey?
Yeah, I played a lot of street hockey in Fairview, oddly enough, because it was either there or Rockingham, but Rockingham was down a hill, so to get home you had to walk up the hill.
You want to go play with the tough boys.
And I was always buddies with Tommy and him and Frazel, and like there was a good crew of hockey people in Fairview, and the roads were flat. Sometimes bumpy, but flat at least. Rockingham was very hilly.
Up top of Fairview was always great, because you had the Salvation Army up there, and Fairview Junior High, and Fairview Heights, and
there was always like a basketball court that was never being used, and we played hockey. Fairview was just like a good street hockey hub, and it was tough. Like it made you put. So you built some character there because you're either getting your stick thrown on the highway or a piece of your gear thrown on the highway by an older guy, meaning like an older guy being like 15.
Yeah.
Teenagers.
Yeah,
Teenagers.
Teenagers.
Heads up.
And that's where you got your scars. I know going last podcast you talk about scars. You got to be able to be tough. And not that I was the toughest kid growing up, but Fairview helped a little bit, gave me a little bit of edge.
Oh man, my teeth right here are chipped. I went into Kyle Fader's garage door and it was full contact on the garage door.
Yeah.
So you dump it in and try and go in. But he turned his bow on me when I went to hit him. Snapped my teeth. They're still chipped to this day. Yeah. Chicks love it though. Chicks take scars, right?
Oh yeah, just Lise. Hey Lise, look at this.
Look at this. Do you remember this? This is when I was 12. I had adult teeth already.
All right, that's the song we got to chuck this off when she turns
What?
the heat on.
I was gonna say quickly though,
Yeah.
a guy I played street hockey with, the top of my street, ended up drafted to the NHL. So I mean,
Who?
Peter Deliberatory.
Oh yeah.
And in
Vegas.
his post draft interview, shit you not, you can go back and watch it. They said, why'd you get into hockey? And he said, when I was a kid, I looked outside and there was guys playing street hockey out on my court, and I went out and I started playing. And that was me and my two brothers out on the court there.
You don't get royalties for that then?
You should.
Royalties, motherfucker.
We just follow him.
Yeah, get him on the pod. I messaged him. He never replies. I shouldn't have said that, but get him on.
Well, man, that's a thing. Like that's not out of the ordinary these days. Like you message me and I don't reply. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not personal, man.
Sorry, Pete, about that.
How many times have you opened,
guy.
acknowledged a text, and doing something, so you put it down, and then 3 days later you're scrolling your text and you go, shit.
Yeah.
Like I did that to you a couple days ago. You asked me to do about something,
yeah.
and I read it, and then I went out to play hockey, and then like a day later I looked and I was like, shit, I didn't message Jeff back, and then I messaged him. He's like, it's covered, and I was like, of course it is. It's 48 hours later,
I know. I was like, dude, like I really need to like figure this out right now. Like, can you help me out? Just nothing. I was like, all right.
It happens, right? It's never
happens.
personal for me.
Yeah,
If anyone at all is listening to this and
Yeah.
I've not replied to them, I mean, there's the odd person, but
Sorry to bring that up and interrupt you, but the people who sent in resumes, thank you very much. We've looked at all of them. We're going to get back to you here soon. We're understaffed, so it's tough for us to like take time and look at resumes because we're actually busy building the company. So we are going to look at those resumes soon. We are going to bring one or two people on. So everyone that sent in the resumes, thank you. Boys, we got to wrap it up. Let's have a good weekend in Freddie Dudes.
Yep.
Jeff, hold it down here in the HRM. High Button Sports to outer space.
let's get the Twiggies going.
Let's get that. We're out. Peace.